Samuel was a judge over Israel. At this time, Israel had no king, but they wanted a king. Samuel had two sons, Joel and Abijah. Because Samuel was getting old, he let his sons be rulers over Israel. There was a problem though. Joel and Abijah were not good judges like their father was. Joel and Abijah were unfair and dishonest. The leaders of Israel went to Samuel. "You were a good judge," they said, "but your sons have not followed your example. We don't want them to lead us. We want a king like the nations around us." Samuel wasn't sure how to respond, so he prayed to God. God said, "Samuel, they are not rejecting you. They are rejecting me as king. Give them what they want, but make sure you warn them what it will be like to have an earthly king." Samuel explained to the Israelites what rights an earthly king would have. A king could make their sons serve in the army, he could make their daughters work for him, or he could take away their fields and servants. Samuel warned the people that they would regret asking for a king, but the Israelites didn't care. "Give us a king," they said. Elsewhere, there was a young man named Saul. Saul's father, Kish, was looking for some of his donkeys that had wandered off. Kish told his son Saul to take a servant with him and search for the missing animals. Saul searched, but he was unable to find the donkeys. He was ready to give up. "Wait," his servant said. "There is a man of God in this city. Let's talk to him. Maybe he knows where we can find the donkeys." Saul and his servant found the man of God. It was Samuel. "Don't worry about the donkeys," Samuel said. "They have been found." Samuel invited Saul to have dinner with him. The next morning, Samuel told Saul that God had chosen Saul to be the king of Israel. Saul was surprised because he was from the tribe of Benjamin, the smallest tribe in Israel. Samuel used oil to anoint Saul. "You will be king," Samuel said. Samuel gave Saul some instructions and sent him home. The Spirit of God was with Saul. Sometime later, Samuel gathered the Israelites to introduce Saul, their new king, but no one could find Saul. God said, "There he is, hidden among the supplies." The people ran to get Saul, and Saul stood among all the people. "Long live the king," they said. God intended for a heavenly king to rule over Israel, but the Israelites did not trust God's plan. So God chose Saul to be their king. God had a plan to one day send his son, Jesus, to rule the entire world. Jesus would be the perfect king who would bring peace and salvation to the world.